What if a mechanic's promise to restore one woman's freedom became the spark for a revolution, but at the cost of everything he ever dreamed of? The sun dipped low over Redwood Falls, painting the sky in hues of amber and rust, mirroring the faded paint of the vintage cars that lined Carter's auto repair. Ethan Carter, a lean figure at 32, stood in the heart of his garage, his hands stained with grease and his mind lost in the hum of machinery. The shop was more than a workplace. It was a sanctuary where broken engines found new life, and Ethan, with his surgeon-like precision, was their savior. Known for restoring classic cars with a reverence bordering on obsession, he had a reputation that stretched beyond the small Minnesota town. But Ethan's true gift wasn't just fixing cars. It was meant in the hopes of those who walked or rolled through his door. The bell above the entrance chimed, slicing through the clatter of a wrench on a '67 Mustang's engine. Ethan wiped his hands on a rag, expecting another farmer with a busted tractor. Instead, a young woman in a wheelchair maneuvered into the shop, her movements deliberate yet graceful. Sophie Taylor, 23, had eyes that sparkled with defiance, a stark contrast to the stillness of her legs beneath a faded blanket. Her voice, soft but resolute, carried a dream that stopped Ethan in his tracks. "I want to drive again," she said, her gaze locking onto his. "I used to race go-karts, feel the wind, the speed. The accident took that from me, but I know you can bring it back." Ethan's throat tightened. 2 years ago, a drunk driver had shattered Sophie's spine and her dreams of racing. Now, she sat before him, asking for a miracle, a car with hand-operated controls, a machine to reclaim the freedom she'd lost. It was no simple task. Adaptive vehicles required custom engineering, intricate hydraulics, and a deep understanding of the driver's needs. Yet, something in Sophie's voice, a blend of vulnerability and fire, hooked him. He crouched to meet her eye level. "It's a big job, expensive, time-consuming. You sure about this?" Sophie's lips curved into a determined smile. "I've been saving every penny, and I've got nothing but time." That night, Ethan's small apartment above the garage became a war room of sketches and blueprints. The challenge consumed him. Hand controls, throttle levers, a steering rig tailored to Sophie's strength. He scoured scrapyards for parts, machined custom components, and studied adaptive vehicle designs late into the night. Sophie visited often, her presence a spark in the dim shop. Over coffee, she shared stories of racing under starlit skies, her laughter weaving a bond that made the project personal. The car, a '72 Chevy Nova, its black frame a blank canvas, became more than metal. It was a promise. Months of sweat and sleepless nights. System, nights forged in Nova's sleek form. The hand controls were nearly complete, each lever a testament to Ethan's dedication. Sophie gripped them during a test run, her eyes gleaming with hope. "It's perfect," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Then the bell chimed, sharp and intrusive. A man in a tailored suit stepped into the garage, his polished shoes absurd against the oil-slicked floor. Daniel Walker, CEO of Walker Automotive, was a billionaire whose face graced magazine covers and billboards. His presence filled the small shop with electric tension, his sharp eyes scanning the Nova with interest. "Remarkable work, Carter," Walker said, his voice smooth as silk. "They say you're the best. I see why." Ethan crossed his arms, wary. "What do you want?" Walker's smile was a predator's. "I'm launching a division for adaptive vehicles. Your Nova's design is revolutionary. Join me in Detroit and we'll mass-produce it. Millions could drive because of you. Name your price." Ethan's heart raced. Walker Automotive was a colossus. Cutting-edge tech, endless resources, a chance to change the world. But the offer came with a shadow. "We'd need a design now," Walker added. "You'd leave this place behind." The words hit like a wrench to the gut. Leave Redwood Falls? Leave Sophie's car unfinished? Ethan pictured her smile, the way her hands gripped the controls. But he also saw millions of others, freed by his work. A question burned in his chest, one that would haunt him. What's worth more, keeping a promise to one person or transforming countless lives? Walker left a business card and a deadline. 1 week. Ethan spent sleepless nights wrestling with the choice. Sophie's car was nearly done, but Walker's vision was colossal. Could he really turn down a chance to revolutionize an industry? The promise of impact, of legacy, was intoxicating. Against the protest of his conscience, Ethan called Walker. "I'm in." He told Sophie he needed to pause a project for a big opportunity. His words vague, his guilt sharp. Her face fell, but she nodded, trusting him. The betrayal gnawed at him as he drove to Detroit, the business card a weight in his pocket. Walker Automotive's headquarters was a gleaming fortress of glass and steel, a world away from Ethan's gritty garage. He was given a corner office, a team of engineers, and a budget that dwarfed his imagination. The Nova's design was digitized, dissected, and prepped for production. But as weeks turned into months, cracks appeared in the dream. Walker's team prioritized profit over purpose, slashing safety features to cut costs. The adaptive vehicles were priced for the elite, not people like Sophie. Ethan's creation was being warped into a luxury commodity, its soul stripped away. One evening, in a sterile boardroom, Ethan overheard Walker on a call. The girl's car? Perfect PR bait. We'll milk the story, then pivot to premium models. Carter's a dreamer. He'll either fall in line or he's gone. The words were a blade. Ethan had abandoned Sophie for a lie. A corporate scheme dressed as progress. The question returned, sharper now. What's worth more? Keeping a promise to one person or transforming countless lives? But the countless lives were a mirage, a marketing ploy for profit. Walker didn't care about people like Sophie. He cared about headlines. Ethan's decision crystallized in that moment. He marched into Walker's office the next morning, his voice steady. "I'm out. The design's mine. You don't get to touch it." Walker's eyes narrowed. "You're throwing away your future, Carter. You'll regret this." Ethan didn't look back. He drove back to Redwood Falls, the weight of his choice lifting with every mile. The familiar scent of oil and pine greeted him as he reopened Carter's auto repair. Sophie was there, her eyes guarded but hopeful. "I messed up," Ethan admitted, his voice raw. "I left you hanging, but I'm finishing your car. I swear it." Sophie studied him, her silence heavy. "Don't make promises you can't keep." Her words stung, but they fueled him. Ethan threw himself into the Nova, working through sleepless nights. The hand controls are perfected, the engine tuned to purr like a contented cat. But new twist emerged. Sophie revealed she'd been crowdfunding to cover the car's costs, rallying Redwood Falls behind Ethan's work. Farmers, teachers, even kids donated what they could, turning the car into a community vow. The realization hit Ethan hard. This wasn't just his promise anymore. It was theirs. Then came the second twist. A letter arrived from Walker Automotive's legal team, claiming Ethan had violated a non-compete clause buried in his contract. They demanded the Nova's design and threatened to bankrupt him. Ethan's blood ran cold. He'd never sign over the design, but Walker's resources were endless. The Billionaire was coming for him. Ethan confided in Sophie, expecting her to pull away. Instead, she grabbed his hand. "We'll fight this. Together." Sophie's connections in the community proved invaluable. A local lawyer, a friend of her father's, took Ethan's case pro bono, uncovering a flaw in Walker's contract. It didn't apply to independent projects like Sophie's car. The legal threat crumbled, but not before Walker leaked a smear campaign, painting Ethan as a thief who'd stolen proprietary designs. The town rallied around him, their trust unshaken, but the accusations left scars. The day Sophie drove the Nova was a quiet victory. The hand controls responded flawlessly, the car gliding across the empty lot behind the garage. Sophie's laughter rang out, tears streaming down her face as she gripped the levers. "I'm free," she said, her voice breaking. Ethan stood watching, his chest tight with pride and relief. He'd chosen one life over a hollow promise of millions, and it felt like the only choice that mattered. But the story didn't end there. Sophie's triumph spread through Redwood Falls like wildfire. People from neighboring towns flooded Ethan's garage, requesting adaptive vehicles for their loved ones. He hired local mechanics, trained them, and transformed his shop into a hub for custom builds. Walker tried one final jab, offering a buyout for the Nova's design, but Ethan burned the offer letter in the shop's furnace. The billionaire's empire couldn't touch him. Years later, Carter's Auto Repair was a beacon of hope, its lot filled with adaptive cars tailored to their drivers. Sophie, now a driving instructor for adaptive vehicles, drove her Nova to the shop daily, her presence a reminder of Ethan's choice. The garage was no longer just a business. It was a movement, proof that one promise kept could ripple outward, changing lives. Ethan stood in the shop one evening, watching Sophie teach a young man to use hand controls. He'd answered the question that once tore him apart. What's worth more, keeping a promise to one person or transforming countless lives? The answer was both. By keeping his promise to Sophie, he'd sparked a revolution, one car at a time. His legacy wasn't in wealth or fame, but in the freedom he gave others. Started with a girl who trusted him when he'd almost lost himself. The ending was clear. Ethan had built more than a car. He'd built a life of purpose, rooted in integrity and community. Redwood Falls stood with him, and Sophie's smile was his reward, a beacon brighter than any billionaire's promise. If this story stirred your soul, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of courage and heart. Share it with someone who needs to believe in the power of a single promise.